It is July 13th. The year is half over. How are we all doing on our goals?
Awesome.
Yeah? Who said that? You said that? Good, good. Who's exceeded their goals so far? All right, good. Yeah, the two that said awesome have exceeded their goals. Everyone else is quiet. All right, we can't get started though yet until, hopefully no one's on the phone. It's showtime. All right, time for our on-time drawing. What are we giving away? Did we bring anything? All right.
Yeah.
Number one, Miranda. We'll get back to you on what, but congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Where's my clicker? Check it on Facebook. Take pictures throughout and of your speakers. I'm waiting. All right, so our breakfast sponsor, and they have some amazing stuff, some sandwiches, some orange juice, some bagels. Let's thank Tony Paneri with D.R. Hubbard. What do you got to say, Tony?
Thanks. Appreciate it, Mark. Hey, guys. Great seeing you. A lot of you probably know me. Some haven't met me yet. I'm Tony Paneri with D.R. Horton. I'm actually a Realty One alumni. Spent 7 years in Green Valley, 20 years in resale. So I get both sides of the market. In fact, most of the D.R. Horton agents are resale agents. We're a brokered office. We have MLS. Builder pays for it, so I'm like, great. So we speak the same language. So if you're out busy working, you can't, get a client over to me, give me a call, and we'll go ahead and get you guys set up. A couple things to tell you. D.R. Horton's the largest builder in the nation. A lot of people don't know that. They say, oh, maybe I thought KB was bigger, or Lennar. We closed 74,000 homes last year, and we're in 37 states. So in contrast, Lennar, after they bought Ryland, I think they did 40,000 last year. So we're leaps and bounds ahead of everyone else as far as production and stuff. So what does that mean for you as a realtor? Well, first of all, we co-op at 3% at every community that we build. We always have. When the market's kind of done this and that, some builders haven't co-opt. Exactly. We've always been there for you guys. And I'm going to kind of segue on what you said about goals. If you sell one new home a month, and everybody can do that, and all the active business you have and listings, taking buyers out, if you sell one new home a month, that's it. That's $150,000 a year by just doing that. So I know you guys would probably want to be on board with that. And I hear all the time from the realtors, wow, new homes is the way to go, because we're just not seeing the inventory out there. How about, what do you guys seeing under 400 out there? Much? So for your entry-level buyers, not a lot of choices, right? So let me tell you about what we're doing. At Horton, we've got communities active all over the community, Las Vegas. I'm going to say probably 40% of them are around 400 or less. What I'm going to promote for you today is if you have a townhome buyer, this is a no-brainer. Or first-time buyer, FHA, VA buyer, you got that veteran that needs to get a home. So I'm in Henderson, which is a short little trip from here on the 215 and 95. At Horizon Trails. So we've got 65 units there on the corner of College and Horizon. So to put that in perspective, if you get on the 95 and get off at College, head north, you go maybe not even half a mile, we're right there tucked in right off of Horizon.
Is that right by the Taco Bell? Is that where you're talking?
Yeah.
Right in there?
It's called Horizon Trails. We lovingly call it Taco Trails.
Sorry, I know that reference, just trying to get...
No, but you know exactly where it is. And you might at first pull in and go, ah! But as soon as you pull in, all of our buildings are tucked in, and there's a church on one side, there's homes on the other, and you guys know the views are amazing over there. It's just unbelievable. So we've got 2 homes that we sell. One's 1319 square feet. That's at $327,990. That's an all-in price. So we don't hit you with all kinds of options and upgrades. Everything comes with it. The vinyl plank flooring, washer, dryer, fridge, blinds, huge 2-car garage, 9-foot ceilings, 22 feet deep. So everything is there. The other thing that we do is to really help those new buyers get in is check this deal out. So you can get in an FHA, 3.5%, you're probably $12,000. We have a rate buy down, which the flyer's there for you guys. So FHA 5.5 fixed, the builders paid for that. So that buy down is already in place. Conventional 5 3/4. In addition to that, the buyers get 5,000 closing costs. And the other thing that we do, our EMD is only $3,000. So if you look at the other builders, 10 or 15,000, this makes it really easy. So we just started on Saturday. Tell Felicia, she's like, been busy? I said, yeah, I sold 4 houses in 5 days. So I need a break. I'm taking the rest of today and tomorrow off. But the point is, we've got some good numbers there. We got 63 units. We're gonna be there. Everything's in the ground. So if you got buyers that need to get in quick, I've got 16 move-ins in August. I've got another 20 in September. I've got another 15 or 20 in October, and we wrap up in November. So really, you just gotta bring your buyers to us. We'll get them pre-qual. Obviously, you already have pre-qual, but to get the value, they gotta go through DHI Mortgage. Mm-hmm.
For the 5.5, do they have to be a minimum FICO of?
Whatever the FHA guidelines are. Yeah, so go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's pretty much easy, and people love it because $3,000 payments. I think my loan officer put it together. It was like $2,300. Now the HOA is $171, but it does include water and sewer. So if you take $60 out of that, your HOA is like $100, give or take.
How about down payment assistance?
You can. We don't offer that, but through the state programs, you can do that.
Sorry, I came a little late. Does it have garages? Did
Yeah,
you say?
huge 2-car garages.
And is there any backyard or like a little patio?
There really isn't, but there's a huge common area. There's a lot of grass. There's a separate doggy park. There's 2 other little grass areas that are real grass, and then you have the doggy park too. So it's intimate. Community. It's 63 home sites, so it's going to be pretty quick in and out. And if you guys go on our website, drhorton.com, you can see the virtual tours and everything. And just come out and see me. It's really not that far from here. Really, it's a straight shot.
Southwest area?
This one is in Green. This one's in Henderson. If you go to drhorton.com, we also have this product in next to Aliante. Cadence, we opened up 4 communities. You guys are familiar with that area. We've done a lot out there. And my product is called Trails. So if you see a Geo Horton community called Trails, it's going to be under $350. If you see Bay, that's detached single family. That'll be typically right around $400. So there's some good opportunities there. We also do bigger houses too, but we're trying to meet the market, the buyer demand for the first-time buyer. That's what we're trying to do. I think we nailed it.
Cool.
Anything else, guys?
Do you have any of like the multi-generational models in D.R. Horton?
We do.
And where would those be?
That's the Summit series. So look for the name Summit.
Okay.
So right now we have it at Cadence.
Okay.
There's a 3550 2-story. That's a square footage, and a 4300. Those all actually single stories do too. So those have a separate entrance,
Okay.
kitchenette, that whole setup. The Manor product is a single story 3-car garage. I sold that one in the Southwest, 2,750 square feet. That has again a separate entrance, kitchenette. That's a great house. So your 6s on those.
But out in Cadence, that's where you're at.
They have them up there, yeah.
Okay.
And also North Las Vegas too. Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
any future plan in Southwest?
A lot, yeah. Going down Blue Diamond. In fact, if you go to drhorton.com, or I can give you a number if you guys want to write it down. Justin's our internet concierge. He's got 2 computer screens in front of him. That's all he does, and he has the first to know information. So what's coming in 3 months, 4 months? Get on the interest list. So Justin's number is 501-6301. 501-6301. And he'll book appointments for you too. If you need to get out to a community, he'll get you scheduled, put you in the calendar. It's really seamless.
Cool.
It's the easiest 3% you guys will ever make. Trust me, I know.
That's awesome. And we appreciate D.R. Horton. That's always paid 3%.
Yeah.
You don't know how much. Well, you know.
Yeah.
Been in business a long time.
Right.
So.
Mark, I appreciate
All right.
it.
Thanks.
All right, guys, if you need anything, let me know.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have our Rev Up trainings coming up. Tomorrow's residential listing agreement. If you need a refresher on the listing agreement, it is there. And then Wednesday is finding motivated sellers and preparing to win the listing. And then next Friday's winning the listing and negotiating the sale. These are all at Summerlin, live at Summerlin, or via or via Zoom. All right, every Thursday is food truck out in the parking lot out that way. Today's food truck is Dabradas. Dabradas. I'm assuming it's Hawaiian. I guess it says aloha. I guess it is Hawaiian. I don't know what kind of food. I've never eaten Dabradas food truck. Blood drive coming up. Is that already July 24th? That's really coming up, isn't it? If you haven't registered, register. You can. There's a phone number here somewhere. No, there's not, but we can get you the information. I think there's a flyer out there for the blood drive. Bowling. Who signed up for bowling? We did it last year. It was a lot of fun, but we had to go all the way to Hendertucky. This time it is at Town Square.
Velocity.
What's that?
Velocity Bowl.
Velocity Bowling. Who knew there was a bowling alley at Town Square?
It's a game center.
All right. It's small, but we'll have a blast. So it's, how much is
Is
it?
it by the theater?
Yeah.
It's $20 per person, prepaid, and that's coming up on July 21st. So when's the deadline for payment on that?
Probably this week.
All right, probably this week, deadline. So we need your money. You can bring cash, you can bring check, or you can Zelle to my personal bank account.
Next Friday.
All right. Then next month we have Super Summer Theater out at Spring Mountain Ranch, which is a blast. The play is called Kinky Boots. I had never heard of it before, but supposedly it's very funny. So that is August 26th. That is how much?
$22.50 at the top.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And that is also prepaid, so get with Stephanie or Laura on that. If you have a hot new listing or an open house that you want to promote, get the information to Stephanie prior to noon every Thursday, and she'll put it into, we send out a weekly email. When I say we, I mean Stephanie, sends out a weekly email with the hot new listings and the open houses. So get that information to her. Pet of the week. We pet of the, and this time it's pets of the week. So we have, what are their names? Lucy Lou and Murphy Lee.
That looks like they're.
This guy looks mean. This one, I don't know.
They're not.
They're not, yeah.
they
They're dogs.
yours?
In case you don't notice, they're dogs.
No, they are not my dogs.
They're Ricky's, right?
They're Ricky Miller's, yes.
Ricky Miller's dogs, so, they're adorable.
The better name was Bandit.
Huh?
Bandit.
Bandit, looks like a bandit. If you want your pet, and we don't do just dogs, we do cats.
We do birds.
We do birds. We almost did a snake one time.
That's what I said.
So if you want your pet featured in Pet of the Week, send it over to Stephanie. Charity's not here, so for all your lending needs, call Charity. There's her information. Rock Title. What you guys got for at Rock Title going on?
Training.
Training.
Training. Always
I love it.
training.
Training.
How much more training do you guys want, right? We can always learn more.
So today we do have Justin's class at 1 p.m. He is going to be talking about creating, engaging, and leading Facebook ads. That's going to be at 1 p.m. We will be playing it in this room. Okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, 1 p.m. Don't forget on Mondays too, we want to make sure you guys are aware, Justin also does another couple training sessions live on Zoom. One in the morning at 9, and then another one at 1. So on Mondays, it's always geared towards Realty One, so you can learn about your One Suite. as well as Sky Slope. And we also have a special Sky Slope sales meeting coming up, right?
Yes, we do.
August 3rd.
We're going to be doing a meeting specifically for Sky Slope forms.
Right, that's coming up. And
Which
he's
is
gonna be
good.
here that day, so
It
he'll
will
be
take
live.
place of transaction desk.
August 3rd?
August 3rd. So the sales meeting on August 3rd is Justin Taylor live here in this room. We're gonna do Sky Slope. But every Monday, just, if you wanna pass the word on to anybody who could use the training, one suite training at 1 and 9 a.m. is Sky Slope, so that's weekly. And then of course, every Thursday at 1 is a different topic. Today is the Facebook ads, so building your business. There's another announcement, and I know there's something else coming up in August. I can't think of, oh my gosh, I just had it, sorry. I'll let you guys know by the end of the meeting. There was something else coming up. Am I missing something, Mark? No?
I don't know what I'm missing.
Okay. Hopefully we covered it all.
All right.
Thanks, you guys.
All
We'll
right.
talk about it next week.
Yeah. Who's doing open houses this weekend? Good.
Yeah.
It's too hot.
Yeah.
Have a good weekend, you guys.
All right, so again, how to create engaging and lead converting Facebook. Who needs more leads? Be here, it's gonna be playing right here on this screen, his class. So, what are they, an hour long, his classes?
But yeah,
Thursday?
always hour, yep.
Yep.
Sometimes he goes a little less.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna try and be here for that. Let's talk about stats. Stats by Emily. So active listings currently as of July 8th was 4,675 active listings. And sold 2,755 for a month's inventory, 1.7 months. So it started to creep up there a little bit, but now it's settling right back down to 1.7. 39 days medium on the market. But what we're going to do is we're going to listen to Lee Barrett talk.
All right, welcome Las Vegas to the June stats. And a lot of people are saying to me, Lee, what's going on in June? We're in the middle of the buying season. And what I got to tell you is that we've plateaued. We went down 0.3% in pricing, which is not a huge amount, but it means that we are getting back to a normal market. And how can I prove that? I'm always telling you guys about the stats. And on the very last page of the stats, there's an interesting group of statistics. And it says the total sales value of units sold during the period. And if you look at that particular year, we go from 2013 to 2023, we are right at 2019. The world that we lived in prior to this time period, 2020, 2021, and 2022 were anomalies. They were very unusual years. And so what I want you to understand, what it takes now is it takes you to get back out and prospect. It takes you out to go out and start to talk to clients. But more importantly, you have to take these statistics with you. Because remember, what you show versus what you try to sell makes a big difference. You don't have to sell anybody when you've got the facts, and we've got the facts. So let me go over the facts real quick with you. Number of new listings, we had 2,617 new listings, which was down. Believe it or not, this number is scary, by 44%. That's why our market's still good, because we don't have any product. And all of you have to reconsider going out and getting listings right now, because this is a time for you to go out and get listings. Now the units sold was at 2,293, which was down 14% from last year. But you gotta remember, last year, like 2020, 21, and 22 were all anomaly years. But one of the good things about it is that in the first 30 days to 60 days, most of the product sold, 65.5% of the homes sold in the first 30 days. That's great news. The second part of that is 31 to 60 days, 15.8%. So taking that all in consideration, we are in a good market. Yes, is it difficult to find product? Yes, we're running into multiple offers on different price ranges right now, but all in all, if you went out and got more listings right now, the market would change pretty dramatically if we had new product. That's why prices are staying up based on supply and demand. So right now, we have about 36, as of June, 3,680 properties. We listed 2,617, so we have about a month and a quarter, month and a half worth of inventory. That's why sellers are still in what we perceive as a seller's market, which is 3 months or less. Remember, a buyer's market is 6 months or more, so we're still in that. For a short period of time, we're in a balanced market. We're not in that anymore. We're in a seller's market because we're in the summer and spring market. Here's what I want to promise you. If you work hard, if you pay attention to the statistics, you talk to your broker, and you do everything that you're supposed to do, you follow the code of ethics, you will be successful. We wish you the very best here from the association. Again, this is Lee Barrett, your president. Thank you very much.
Great information that you can use with your buyers and sellers. You gotta know what to say, and you guys get this question all the time. How's the market? These statistics are what you can use when you get asked that question on how's the market. So Lee's always good. He's our current, if you didn't know, he's our current president of LBR. All right, with that being said, we have the moldy guy coming up now. So I've known Dennis Whitaker for probably 20 years. He's a master inspector. He doesn't do home inspections anymore. He just works with the mold industry. So he's got a lot of great information to provide for us.
I got all my stuff right here. I'm gonna hide behind this so everybody can see me. I'm gonna give that to Lisa though. Hello, good morning everybody. My name is Dennis. This is Lisa. We provide a service of mold testing. We've been doing this since 2001, so it's a little over 21 years. So we've been doing, like you said, we've been in and out of the house. Well, I used to be a home inspector. I used to be a master inspector. I used to do a lot of commercial, a lot of high-end homes. I retired about 3 years ago because this has really been taking off quite a bit. Mold testing. So we've been doing mold testing full-time. Lisa's been doing it also for about 7 years?
8 years now.
8 years. I was 1 hour off, but 1 year off. But anyway, like I said, what we want to do is try and educate you on mold today. The biggest thing on mold is what starts mold off? What's one product mold will grow with?
Water.
Exactly, water, number one. And then you have to do that the whole house with food source. What's the food source? It's got carpet, it's got wood, drywall, any kind of food source, cabinets, any kind of leaks or anything. What we're doing, we're promoting also this year when we do a full inspection of a home, full survey with infrared camera. We'll go through each and every, moisture or any kind of water intrusion of the home. What we'll do, we'll give 3 of these free, which you can put underneath the counter. And what this does here, like I said, pour a little bit there, just a little bit. What this does, that'll wake you up. That'll get you going. It does work, be honest. It even happened in our house because we had a water heater. It started leaking. I put it in the pan, and when the water started getting to it, this thing went off. Didn't know where it was coming from, but put it underneath your sink, and that's all you gotta do. You have to replace these things, and it's got a date on the very bottom, replacement date. So you just gotta replace them. Be honest with you, we're giving these free, 3 of them free when we do a full inspection, or you can buy them on Amazon. But I highly recommend putting one of these because what you can do is put this in the laundry room underneath each of the sinks. Sometimes you can put them right next to the toilet or in the hot water, in the pan on the hot water. So what Lisa's going to be talking about more about mold also. I just want to introduce you to this, and we're going to be going over all this one here too because this gives our history here. We're going to be bringing some of these out here too, the brochures. But like I said, we've been doing this. I'm gonna hand this over to Lisa right now, so she can get started on the little presentation. We've got a slideshow. So I'm gonna get rid of this here. I'll get rid of this, go this side over here. Just go ahead, Lisa.
Hey, good morning, I'm Lisa with Nevada Mold Testing. This is kind of what we want to bring to the table is prevention and information about things that we see on a daily basis when we're out in the field. We are obviously doing inspections. As part of the mold thing, we offer the inspection because home inspectors do not cover the same types of things that we're looking for. It's the water at the floor level, it's pulling up the carpet to see the tack strips, looking at the bottom of the vanities or behind that back wall. It's where we see all of the damage that gets hidden and, if you will, painted over. So inspection for the purpose of water damage, intrusion, and the presence or the possibility of mold. We do have a moisture meter and infrareds in order to determine some of those hot spots. Interpretation of the lab results, because those come across, there are a lot of inspectors out there that do mold that will simply send you your lab results. They don't tell you what happened, they rely on the lab to give a rating as opposed to somebody interpreting those results. So important in the sense that, it was a week ago, I had a call from, actually it was Mary Perry's office. So they had somebody that was in contract and they got their own mold inspector out there and they provided a report. Now this person does testing as well as the remediation, so they also submitted a bill. So they were prepared to give the client credit. And so at the end of the day, they fell out because of HOA or something else. But either way, then they started thinking about this, like, what does this report really mean? They don't know what they're looking at. So at any rate, they had gotten my name and I talked to them and they sent me the results. There was nothing on that lab result that indicated that they needed any kind of remediation or anything in the air. There's always gonna be mold spores in the air. Outside, inside, that's why we do a control or a comparison, if you will, when we're doing air quality. But the reality is there's always gonna be mold spores in the air. We wanna know whether there's more inside and what type they are versus what's outside and in the environment. So, and some mold spores are specific to water damage. So that's why when we see certain mold spores, we're like, okay, well now we have to balance the act and see just what's being affected or if there's anything being affected. So just one of those things as far as our support for the realtors in the field that don't have any experience or don't know what they're talking about when they're looking at reports and or somebody else providing. Again, same company providing testing and remediation, that's a red flag. There is a conflict of interest with that. And it's same thing with asbestos. You can't test and do the remediation and test again. You can't do all your own work. It is a conflict.
So you guys don't do the testing?
We do the actual testing, we don't do any remediation.
Don't do the remediation.
Right.
Correct, so from there it goes to another party and then we come back on site for the purpose of clearance. It's always the back end. Even if somebody had water or mold damage prior, not the end of the world, as long as you have your paperwork. I mean, there are remediation companies that are gonna provide you the full-on pictures on the onset as well as through the process, and at the end, post-remediation for us is taking pictures, inspecting that all the damage has been removed, and then we do air quality to validate that there's no more concern with air quality within the home. So the problem, a lot of times what we run into is there's a lot of people that have the handyman come and do it, right? So the handyman doesn't always understand that once it's disturbed, it's gonna be airborne. That's where the problem lies, is because when you have somebody living in that home and now you've now exposed them to airborne particulate as well as the mold spores, that's problematic. The same thing with asbestos. The guidelines that we follow are asbestos related, if you will, meaning full-on zipper in, zipper out containment, air scrubbers to clean and filter the air so that you're not polluting the rest of the home. And part of that containment, I'll show you in just a bit. I have a couple pictures of what the containment actually looks like so that you're prepared. There shouldn't be open pipes and there shouldn't be exposed flooring that's maybe been damaged. You know, there's things that happen that affect our testing. So at any rate, post-remediation testing is part of what we do as well. We do air quality, we do a direct contact when we see something visual. We do in-wall cavity for those areas that look repaired, painted over. That happens a lot in Las Vegas. So sometimes it's directly behind that toilet and now I'm looking at it going, they didn't really do the work. They're just now covering that up. So the idea is to find out where the water source came from, whether it be the toilet or the shower. And then again, we're always looking behind the furniture. Sometimes that shower backs to a closet, so we have concerns. Nobody sees anything in the closet because their shoes are there, boxes are there, everything's covered. So, and I know that your home inspectors don't move things, first of all. So when there's an area like that, like underneath the sink, if it's full of personal belongings, they're not gonna move that. They're not looking at the cabinetry and or the back wall, which is what we're concerned about.
What is cassettes, covers, 800 to 1,000?
So air sampling is done by a cassette. I didn't bring one today, but it's done by a cassette. Those cassettes cover probably 800 to 1,000 square feet. So in order to get an accurate measure of what's going on in the home, if you have a 2-story home, you have 2 air units, we cover certain square footage with one of those samples. So it is based on square footage, and when we're testing, we want to get a good idea. The only other difference is sometimes, and it says PRB, which is post-remediation, sometimes we have somebody go in there and do the work, and then we want to know whether there's anything in the air. So it may be that I just take one sample in that, let's say it's the kitchen. So we take one sample in the kitchen and it gives us a preview of what's going on in that home. A lot of times when there's been no containment and there's been work done where there's been mold pulled out and new materials put in, sometimes that mold is all up in the air and it is toxic. That's what people don't understand. And part of the issue with Las Vegas is that nobody opens doors and windows. It's hot, it's cold, it's dusty, it's windy, or allergies. There's so many things that put off the pollen, and so a lot of reasons why we don't have any cross ventilation and or ability to get that out of the air and dissipate over time and space. So that's what the problem is, and especially when we have carpet in the home. So hardwood floors, great because it's an easy mop, and most of the time a wet application will pick up those mold spores, like we're talking about walls or floors or ceilings. Most remediation companies will do that as a wet wipe, just because there are some mold spores that are gelatinous, meaning when they go airborne, they're gonna stick to things. So carpet, furniture, all of those types of things are usually removed from the area in which they're working when they do remediation.
I'd like to add on to this.
Yeah.
What she's saying here, like, you got a 3,000 square foot home, you're gonna have to do 3 of them on the inside and 1 outside for comparison. So it gives you a rough idea if you're, if we do a full inspection. Now, if you just do 1 area, like she said, a kitchen, you can do 1 in the kitchen, like say it had a mold, and 1 in 5, or in the master bedroom where you sleep. You have 60% of your time it's in the master bedroom. Then you wanna do 1 outside. Matter of fact, not only that, we can do allergy testing with this too. But,
So you do the outside to compare to the inside, if it's,
Yeah.
because there's mold outside as
we
well,
always have
right?
it outside, yes.
So if it's way higher on the inside, there's an issue.
Exactly.
And at the same token, when we see low amounts of what's on the outside, on the inside, not that big of a deal. We have a threshold or a baseline at least when we have the exterior as a control, because again, outside we have trees, plants, and shrubs that put out mold spores as they die off, and so we're always gonna have some kind of balance. Sometimes it's in the soil. It's just a matter of where we're taking our exterior sample, but what's outside is typically what's gonna be inside, but at lower numbers, right? So it's the comparison and the control that helps us determine what's really going on out there. And then again, the interior side, if there are mold spores that are indicative of water damage, then we know that they recently did a repair, and all of that's in the air, right? So that's kind of how we balance that act.
Out of curiosity, did you ever get any readings on the outside that were like dangerously high?
Yes.
Yeah, because if it's windy and or it's been just like it just rained, or it just depends on what's going on in the climate on that day. Like I said, with the winds and the dust and all that, so we will get sometimes extreme readings on the exterior, but again, when we look at the interior, it's up to us to determine whether that's really harmful for the person living in the home, or is it just common, and is it something more allergenic as opposed to toxic? So
The other thing, so let me interrupt you, the other thing too, we can pick up mold spores if you got a living bush in there.
plants, trees.
Plants, if they start to die off, they're gonna start throwing out mold spores. So we recognize this as we're going through the whole building, or the whole home also.
Sure.
How bad is this stuff for you in reality?
So here's the problem, is that some people are not allergic or reactive to mold. I am not. I'm around it all the time. I've been in homes that are just, you see it coming off the walls. Dennis, highly allergic. He will react in the way that he's got a catch in his throat, he's having trouble breathing now. So it's extreme, some are itchy, scratchy, some people have a cough or runny nose, sneezing. So all of those allergy reactions that people have is what we see. And so when you are sick and more sick, and then you're going to the doctors and doing antibiotics, and then back at home, it's a vicious cycle because you will feel better for a short period of time and then you're back at it again. So it really depends on your immune system. So one of the things that we do offer, and you'll see it on our flyer, is that we offer discounts for seniors, cancer survivors, and the military, and of course elderly, military and seniors is what we offer. And the main reason for that is because those are the ones that tend to have some issues, whether it's immunodeficiencies or whether it's asthma, COPD. These people are highly affected when it comes to mold spores. It's why we do what we do in relation to trying to educate people, because I have been on the other side of things in the sense that when the home is sold and people move in and now somebody's sick and they don't know why. And it's in the carpet, it's in the air, because somebody did the work and then they didn't properly contain it and or do the testing to clarify whether there was still a problem or not. And so that's the problem with that gelatinous type of mold, and it's your more toxic mold. When they talk about Stachybotrys or black mold, that's usually the one that's more gelatinous in the atmosphere as far as how it sticks to things and stays involved in the HVAC system as well. Okay, so let's see. So this is just saying when we inspect, we do looking for those water source damages that are, again, sometimes they're baseboards that are painted over or caulked or patch and repair. So we're specifically looking for those damage in the areas that there's water. So this is just kind of some of the things we see, like swollen baseboard, something that's pulling away from the wall. You're not going to see until you pull the baseboard. It's much like, and I always do this for women just because I think of artificial nails. When water gets trapped in between there, it's going to grow mold. And that's exactly what's happening here. Behind the baseboard, it's saturated. We could see the baseboard was saturated, but it was also caulked. And you can see a little bit of water staining in some of these. It's just areas that, you know, nobody pulled the baseboards for the purpose of a dry out. So Dennis talked about that, water and cellulose product, meaning the drywall, the cabinetry, in relation to what it takes for mold to grow. I'm going to move through this a little bit. Water damage, different types of mold, thriving environments, this is what we talked about. So this is, most of the time people say, we're living a dry state. Why is there mold here? And mostly what we see is damaged materials, it's maintenance issues that weren't properly cared for. So all these rental properties that you see going on the market now, where all these investors didn't care to begin with, but either way, now they're back on the market, and you had renters in there that didn't care. They had a water leak, it just went on. They got the water stopped, but all your cabinetry is damaged. And what people don't recognize is what's happening behind the scenes. Some of these cabinets are self-encased, so you're not seeing the drywall. All you see is the base of the cabinet. And what we see is sometimes saturation that brings up. So like in this case, we were pulling the carpet. You could see how damaged that tack strip is. When you see new carpet, you don't see the tack strips. So what we're wanting to do is find out what's going on in these areas where everything was covered up. The baseboards are separating a little bit. The tack strip definitely tells us that there's been a problem there. And this is just another example. Your home inspector is not always catching this, but this is the door wells. When you have a flood in a home, the door wells at the entry, you know, at your entry is where everything that's low level is going to take the brunt of the water. But baseboards are easy enough to replace. It's the door wells that they're not going to take out. You hardly ever see that happen. As far as
I want to add on to this. This is an exterior door to a bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
But what it was doing, when it was rain, they had no gutters. What it was doing, probably on the next one over, it will show that it's hitting, this is it right here. It was hitting right there, just on the other side. That's where we're seeing the water go through. Doors are not waterproof. And in order to avoid this, you need a gutter system up here to divert the water. So a lot of the homes or patios or even balconies,
Yeah.
you see a lot of this going on.
And the other thing you gotta remember too is like condos and even I've seen a lot of homes that have a balcony on the primary bedroom. They're sloping the wrong way. These are construction defects that nobody's really paid any attention to over time. When we, of course, we don't get that much rain, right? So when we do, and it's coming in, very rarely are people gonna notice it or think it's gonna happen again or that they need to be concerned about it. It's happening and it's making things swell and being a problem, but nobody's paying attention to that. So I don't remember what we're looking at here, so we're gonna move. Oh, this is a closet that back to like a water heater type thing. And of course, they don't see anything until they pull out. Condos with water heaters on the balcony, this is what we see from up to down and then below, right? So balconies with water heaters. So this is just another example. This was a garage that was newly painted. I did the inspection on this home. The garage was newly painted and of course the water heater brand new. Nobody knew that when they did all of that, they didn't take care of the interior. So the water is gonna go somewhere. 40, 50 gallons of water is gonna go somewhere. And almost all the time, it backs to an interior bedroom. In this case, it was the primary closet. When they got the home, they wanted to put new carpet. They wanted to be prepared for moving in. And it was an elderly couple with the mom gonna be living with them. And so when they got it, they wanted all new flooring. So the guys went in there and pulled out all the baseboards, and this is what they found in the master bedroom, which backs to that to that water heater. So again, primary, interior versus exterior, the garage is always gonna be exterior, but the water heater always backs to an interior wall. So we always wanna be looking at that.
I'm gonna add on to this one too. What we see here, they put a pan here, which is great. Where's the pan go to? Where it starts leaking? Right back where it was before. It needs a drain line. And you can put it in your garage, because your garage floor slopes, or take it outside. Let it just, drain outside.
So that the water goes away from the.
And the best thing, if you guys take a vacation, shut the water off at your house. Because there's a gate valve in the garage, if you don't, get one. Because when you take off, don't come back to a flooded house.
So
Come back to a dry house.
I gotta tell you, I had a client he was on vacation, and it was a custom home. And he was looking at his ring, because everybody has a ring, and water is seeping out from his doors on the front porch to the street, and it started in the master bedroom. So he had to call the neighbor and say, hey, can you gain access to my house and find out where that leak is? And of course, when I got there, it was a 1 foot flood cut all throughout the home, because that's where you gotta start. You gotta get rid of the drywall and the baseboards and anything that was saturated like that. So a lot of damage on that home. This is just more of where we see, this was actually a refrigerator line where you could see what happens to the paint, right? That nobody paid any attention to that. This is a closet on the opposing wall or the adjacent wall. So nobody saw that until, of course, they were moving things around. And
To explain what mold does too, if you see it like this, it's like an iceberg in the middle of the ocean. And you see the tip of it, it could be huge in the background.
So like in this case, you think about the two walls. So between the two walls, it's dark, it's cool. It is a prime location for mold to grow when you have all that saturation going on, and it's been happening over time. From here, even though we see it to this level, it's saturated a good 2 feet. You just can't see that. The paint and primer, everything's holding that at bay. So this is on the, so consider the difference. This wall probably had primer and a couple coats of paint. This wall, 1 coat of paint because it's in a closet. So it's coming to the surface a lot faster than what we can see what's going on between the walls. So again, this is direct contact. For me, I can see it, I know it all day long, it's gonna be mold. But when there's something that's been covered up like this, we either have to take the baseboard off or we have to drill into the wall and do an in-wall cavity so that we're not disturbing it. That's our main focus, is we don't wanna disturb it enough to that we have to worry about who's in the home. All right, so just some myths about mold is that it comes in all colors. You saw that in the last photo, but the other thing is it can be allergenic, it can be toxic. Bleach is a myth. People that patch paint, cover up and put some bleach on there, that mold is still there, and it's gonna be on the interior side of the wall, because as we saw in the last photo, 1 or 2 or 3 coats of paint versus 1 coat of paint versus no paint on the interior side of the wall. There's just paper that's been feeding on this water and growing mold behind the walls.
I'm gonna add on to that. The only way to get rid of mold is to remove it. And when you remove it, you gotta bag it. Don't drag it through the house.
It's why the containment. When we talk about the zipper in, zipper out, it's why the containment. Mold can affect your health, we talked about that. Again, some people are allergic, some people will never have a reaction to it, but you never know who's gonna be in that house. There's so many multi-family or multi-generational families, whether it's the kids and the grandma, you just don't know who's gonna be in the house. So, again, flu-like symptoms, itchy eyes, scratchy throat, sometimes it's welting. I've seen people just wake up welting, and again, if it's in your bedroom and you're sleeping there all night long, you're spending a lot of time in that area that can be damaging to you.
And it has like flu-like symptoms. So if you feel bad at home and you go out and you feel good, you might have a sick home syndrome. So in other words, something might be going on.
It's the same thing. I mean, we do commercial buildings in the sense that when something's happened in like a doctor's office where there's been a water intrusion, we saw a dentist office where the actual spigot was out on the outside of the landscaping water source was on the exterior of the building, but it was intruding into the interior. They didn't know until the mold started coming to the surface. And then there was, it's a big thing. So this is what we see when we talk about remediation and proper dry out. That's where it all starts. When you have a flood, it's very important, and most people don't do this. There's a lot of restoration companies that don't follow this same pattern of dry out, but very important to get rid of the padding. And then this is what we see. Drywall is only gonna vent and dry out if there's holes in there so that they can now set your heat, your blowers, your air, your dehumidifiers, and airflow and fans to be able to dry it out. Otherwise, it's not drying between the walls. You're drying exterior only. So it's a problem when they're not properly doing their dry out when you talk about restoration. And restoration, unfortunately, is a dime a dozen, and they're not all trained the same way. Yes?
Some of the houses I've been in, they do like a foot up and not just these holes. Does that matter, or is that?
No.
They cut it?
Yeah.
It's either or.
Okay.
See, if they catch it within the first 24 hours, they're able to do a proper dry out. Once it goes past a certain point, the insurance takes effect because now they've got a category 1, 2, or 3, depending on where the water source was, right? So sometimes it turns out to be insurance related because of the restoration company and or because of the time frame that the water's been going on. So.
And I'm gonna add on to this one too. If we go out there and we see a water problem and you wanna do a mold, we'll stop you right then and there because we'll tell you to get a hold of a remediation company. They'll take it to your insurance. Then get rid of it and call us up for the clearance test. If we do a mold test there, we find it, your insurance might not cover it. So we're here to work with you and try and guide you in the right direction.
So if you want insurance to cover it, you call the remediation people first.
Because the only is
Or
so
give us
typically.
pictures, or call us, we'll tell you who to call.
Okay, and how bad's it gotta be for the insurance to do it?
So what I would say, everybody's insurance is different, and not all insurance companies cover mold. They will cover active moisture. So again, if it's been going on for a minute and that wall is saturated, we can see that either by infrared or we're measuring for moisture in miscellaneous places, and we know that that wall is full of moisture. We also know there's gonna be mold as a result. So the reality is the insurance company will cover it as long as it's active moisture, and then let's say they don't properly remove all of it. I was talking to an insurance adjuster the other day and I said, what's the deal with like once it's dry? And she's like, if you reported your water claim and as a result of that you ended up with mold, they will cover that. But if that is not the case, then you're like a lot of people don't report it, right? They say, oh, we'll just fix a water heater and call it a day. Well, now you've got water damage that you really didn't address, but you didn't turn in a claim, so you don't have anything to go with there. All right, so this is kind of what a proper containment will look like. Again, up to the ceiling, it's taped off, to the floor, taped off. You got a zipper in, zipper out. And when we talk about, like, they didn't cover all the cabinets, but they taped off all of the access for any airflow. They've got blowers running in there that are cleaning and filtering the air, so you always have the potential to have exterior or other influence into the testing, which is why when they do it this way, it's just a one and done type of thing. We don't have to say clean up or do anything more. Air sampling is done interior, exterior. This is just more of what we see as far as water damage. We're looking at those toe kicks around the door wells, at the baseboards, at the lower level, because that's where water is gonna be. I think that might be it.
And then again too, these toilets, if they start rocking, there's moisture coming through. Question.
So what percentage do you see in the houses that you looked at that have mold?
Oh, God.
So,
That's a tough one, it's over 50%.
And usually, I mean, again, the home inspectors are referring business to us all the time just because that's not in their scope. So it's one of those things that they don't always catch, but when they do, it's usually a good find just because there is something going on and we want to look behind that. The worst case scenario for me is to get those calls after the person has bought the home and they're moving in, right? They want to replace that vanity in the bathroom, or they want to replace those cabinets in the kitchen, and when they pull those out and there's mold out back there, guess whose problem that is? That's theirs now if they want to live in it and they want to continue doing their remodel. But I can tell you that there's a lot of heartache, there's a lot of headache, and nobody wants to deal with the problem after the fact. So again, I know that people are paying for home inspections, but they don't cover the same things that we're looking for. So does anybody else have any questions? Yes.
So what is your pricing structure?
So we start about $225 for like limited inspection, and then everything else is based on square footage, and then any sampling that we would be doing is going to be separate. Just keep in mind, if it's the homeowner or if it's a seller, ideally we want to just advise you to do, like Dennis said, do the work and get your clearance, and you're going to have to disclose it. So if you're disclosing it, you want to make sure that all your ducks are in a row, because you're going to have to do it again.
It's your protocol.
How big of a discount have you seen people who bought a house with mold actually give?
Well, you know, here's the thing, is water goes far and wide. So ideally what we do is we say, yes, there's a problem, and then get a remediation company in there to do the estimate, because they're gonna do the estimate based on what they see and what they know. Because again, if we go back to that remediation slide, what happens is the cabinets usually need to come out. So like in this case, see those under cabinets are all gone. So the cabinets have to come out, and they're usually damaged, which means they cannot be replaced. They can, in some cases, save the facings of the cabinets, but then you're gonna have somebody rebuild the interior of the cabinet too, because those are damaged. You gotta remember, those interior panels of the cabinetry are pressed wood. So when they get saturated, they're gonna grow mold. And the other thing too is you always have a 2-inch toe kick, right? So water, again, finding its lowest place, and it's gonna go. So anything behind the dishwasher, the kitchen sink, a lot of times this is what we see, is all of the cabinetry underneath has to come out, and then most of it can be put back. But the idea is they're getting to that back wall where the drywall is, because that's what's growing the mold. You're not always seeing it because those cabinets are either self-encased or there's some kind of something at the back wall that you're not being able to fully view.
Yeah, I'm gonna get back to pricing too. Somebody said $225, that's going into one spot. Now, it's a different price from the size of the home, do the whole survey. So the first thing is $225, start on a little condo, then it builds up. You know, if you go to 6,000 square foot home, it goes up in price. So give us a call, we'll give you a price right over the phone too.
And then there's a lot of people coming in from out of state, California, back east. Those people are more in tune when we talk about mold. So if they're asking for it, it's because they've had a situation. So, yeah, and they just want that general inspection because sometimes it's required in those other
And
states.
the other thing too, you know, we can do a mold test, we clear one day, and somebody moves in and might have mold in, they can transport mold from where they lived in before. So if they had water damage in one house, when they start packing up all their clothes, they can bring it over to the other house with furniture. So just to let you know, so.
See, that's a problem too when it goes airborne,
We're
because then you
snapshot.
have, like, let's say it's in your bathroom, your primary bathroom, and now it's close to your closet, and somebody came in there and ripped everything apart, and now you've got airborne particulate. You didn't take any precautions in protecting your personal items. If you're allergic, you're gonna have issues for an extended period of time. And again, sometimes they go on for months, and sometimes people are able to, like I said, if they have a previous experience, they have something to go back on, and now they're like, oh my gosh. You know, so a lot of people freak out when it comes to mold.
So when you do the cassettes, do you test yourself or do you send them out to test?
No, we have a lab, so that's the other, we have 2 different labs that we use, and ideally that's the uniform way of doing business. And nationwide is how air testing is done, it's done by a third party. Now the reason I'm bringing that up, as well as you're commenting on it, is these labs are nationally approved, and they have to meet certain quotas to be able to do what they do for either lead, water, mold, asbestos, all of those things have analysts that are trained to do just that. And so that's where we send our samples to. The comment that I was gonna make is there are a lot of companies now coming into town that are able to self-analyze, if you will. There's an app on their phone, or there's a microscope that they can buy. So I've seen a couple of reports, and of course there's no indication of who actually analyzed that and what their education is. So it gets kind of scary when we talk about mold testing, and again, we've been here over 20 years, and this is what we do, mold and asbestos. So I'm happy to talk to any of you in relation to your home inspections, pictures that you take if you see something suspicious, or somebody, maybe that didn't show up in your home inspection, but you saw something that caught your eye. So again, I'm happy to talk to anybody and look at those things in those pictures and decipher whether it needs further attention in order to determine, because again, the headache and the heartache that comes after the fact is kind of crazy.
What's the turnaround time?
It's 24 hours.
Or we get it same day too.
Same day if anybody's in a rush. I mean, I've had people at closing that said no, you know, something happened in between the
So the lab is in town?
We have a local lab that we can get same day service from if we're there prior to like 1 o'clock and get our samples to the lab and push those through. There is an upcharge for that, but certainly has been utilized in the past because of crucial information that's coming about at the end of the day, you know, so.
Got a question?
This is more a question for Mark. So does our contract, if we find mold, it gets tested, would the seller be obligated to have that repaired?
It's negotiable. It's one of those things the buyer could say, hey, there's mold here, and, you know, we want it remediated, and the seller could say
Say
yes
no,
or
then
no.
just-
You know, it's just like any repair item.
But they
Yeah.
would have to disclose it on the ESRPD.
Absolutely,
Right,
yeah.
if
Yeah,
you
once it's
swap or find it,
identified.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Once it's identified in the recommendations, the only other thing that I would bring up is the whole thing about air quality. When you really don't know, and carpet's a big thing, so like having, some of the homes that I've gone into have been recent flips, right? So they've gone in there and changed out the cabinetry and put new flooring in, and they painted, and they did all of these things that make your home look good. Problem that I find is the air quality. There's only one flipper in town that I know that will call me and say, hey, look, I know there was a water problem, can you go do my air testing for me so that we can have a clean bill of health and everybody is good to go. They're answering a question before it even came up. So at that point, if, so two things. One of them was I did testing and it came up with mold, and so my recommendation was clean your carpet and clean your HVAC coils, because they control a lot of your indoor air quality. The difference is that, what happened? Oh, I know what it is. So talking about transportable, I came and did the testing, and there was mold in the air. So I said, look, do these two things and I'll come back and test. So I came back and test, but the morning that I went there, I actually came from an inspection where there was mold throughout the home, and I was taking pictures and in it and looking at it and then testing, and then I went to this clearance. So mold showed up, and it was supposed to be a clearance for him. So when it failed, I'm like, wait a minute, where was I before? So it's transportable and it's feasible that I can carry it with me. The idea would be, so this is what I did. I called the guy and I said, hey, look, either your coils didn't get cleaned like they said they did, or I could have transported that in there. So do me a favor, call your HVAC guy. If you know him and you like him and you know he did his job, I will go back and test at my cost, because not even a cost to you, at my expense, because at that point there was a possibility that it could have been cross-contaminated by me. So sure enough, I went back, it was clean, we were good, everybody was happy. But it's one of those things where I'm happy to go back out if I miss something or if something didn't get looked at. And again, I'm always asking for home inspections because we want to follow their course and at least verify, rule it in, rule it out.
Yeah,
So do you have any remediators that you
Yes,
recommend?
yes, we do. Yes.
And one of the
We
things
got
that was in the
stuff.
slide that I kind of passed through was, we always recommend somebody that's got IICRC credentials. Now, that is a specific, and we actually have a local school here, but it is a nationwide industry standard when it comes to remediation for the very purpose of containment. And again, being able to get through it like a one and done. I've had people that I've had to test 3 times behind the company that did the work because they're still not following either direction, or they didn't do it properly and they left everything cross-contaminated. So that can be problematic, but we're happy to guide you in the right direction. We have a couple contacts in the field that do remediation and then live up to the standard that we can try to get in and get out with one and done.
Now, the other thing too, I gotta just a moment. home inspectors do a lot of their own testing. To let you know, we educate a lot of the home inspectors, I do, a lot of home inspectors, because they used to be. They're not insurable. We carry $1 million for mold testing. They don't. And the difference is, we're trained to look for it, where they're not. We can pinpoint what things are going on, or we can tell you why it's going on. So there's a difference too.
Another side of that is I've seen those same home inspectors just again send you the report, like, here's your lab results. I
And
took
they
your
send it to
samples,
us.
because they're really not looking at it on a daily basis. I see it every day. It's all I'm doing is comparing and looking at sampling and what we've done in the field versus what's happening as far as remediation and or just a home that has had problems, so.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have one question now. Inspection, okay. Do you see any correlation between, when you do inspection, the correlation between the age of the house, how old the house, or the quality of the installation or the utility?
Well, the age is definitely gonna
Does that
matter.
reveal something about the nature of the mold?
Sometimes it's just a maintenance thing. I mean, like some people that, like what I mentioned on the onset was an investor property where a renter's been in there and of course they don't care. And then the owner or the property manager never walks the property. So then they put it on the market and everything's just been covered. They send a handyman in there to do whatever cover up, paint, fresh, whatever that is. And then those things get overlooked because nobody's walking that job and they're not specifically looking for the water damage that's happened over time. I've seen cabinetry. In fact, there was a house that sold in our neighborhood. We walked through it after they totally got it ready. They were flipping it, so we wanted to walk it. So we walked the property, and the first thing I do is look in the kitchen sink underneath the cabinets. All the cabinets gray, interior of the cabinets gray, as well as the pipes. Everything got sprayed. So the idea is that we're looking at the actual cabinetry. The bases they're gonna show saturation and they're gonna show deterioration, as well as your back walls and your vanities and underneath the toe kicks. All of those areas are gonna show the telltale signs of what's gone on.
Now, give back to that too, if you work with anybody else, if you need help, call us. We're here for you. We want to be on your team to make everything go right. That's the biggest thing. You can always take a snapshot, email it or send it to us, we can take a look at it also. So we're here for you. I've been in this town since 1973. I've been around for a long time. We were gonna talk about asbestos. Do we have time for that real quick?
Yes.
Sure. Asbestos, yes, we're licensed, certified through EPA for asbestos. And I'll tell you a little story. Remember the MGM got on fire? I worked on that thing many, many years ago as it was building up. It used to have asbestos throughout all the fireproofing. Back in 73, 74, 78, they quit shipping it in here. But we still inspected for 80 and 82 because they allowed the manufacturers or the suppliers to get rid of their inventory. So we still see them. So with homes prior to 1980, it's highly recommended getting asbestos testing before they start tearing the walls down. Because when you do remediation, they're licensed, they gotta have that for their documents too.
1980?
1980, yeah.
So, and to just know too, as well as anything prior to 1980 is gonna be subject to asbestos testing when you talk about plumbing, electrical, roofing.
They're going through the walls.
Anytime you're doing some renovation and remediation, it's important to remember that anything prior to 1980, and I've seen deals fall out because of this, because that's one of the things that is subject to. Like, we found mold, but they can't do the remediation until they get the asbestos testing. So for me, I'm going back twice because on the onset, people need to digest that, and then at the end of the day, they need to recognize that it doesn't matter if it's been remodeled. It doesn't matter if you've got all new materials in there. If you have a contractor out there that needs to break a wall in order to remove something or fix something like those pipes, when you have a contractor out there for that reason, they're not gonna touch it until you have asbestos testing. So it's just a kind of one of those things that doesn't happen all the time, especially in a home that's been remodeled. But when you're talking about a property that's, there's a lot of older homes in town that are great properties, but when you have, it's just a consideration that people have to think about, because it doesn't matter. If you have a roof leak, that roof wasn't fixed or it wasn't repaired or replaced, in a timely fashion, and you bought that home and it's 30 years old, you know, or more, then you're gonna be subject to.
And asbestos, just don't disturb it. Those older homes, they're built by men. Way back when, I'm gonna go way back in the 70s, 60s and 70s. They knew how to build. As long as you don't disturb it, you don't need to get it tested. So if you got somebody, just you go on site. But, like I said, we're here for you. If you need any testing done or anything like that. Anybody have any other questions? Well, thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.